here. Hey, let me tell you about my guest, Kimberly Dvorak. She is the award-winning national security, border security investigative reporter for TV, radio, print media. And Kimberly is the senior foreign policy advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policy. She's covered the news with an outside the beltway perspective. Her experience as an investigative journalist ranges from the national security issues like Gitmos, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed 9/11 trial, immigration, foreign policy issues. TV correspondent for CW6 News San Diego, as well as One American News Network. Her website, thekdreport.com, and normally she is streaming live as we speak. Hey, Kimberly, how are you doing?
How are you doing?
I'm doing fair to partly cloudy. Thank you very much, and glad to be back. You know what I mean?
Great to have you back. I was afraid that you'd lost your voice.
Well, I found it. It was laying right over there where I kicked it, a couple of weeks ago. So here we go. Hey, we got a serious thing to talk about because I'm going to tell you, apparently, according to you, there's something that's hiding in plain sight, and it is the United States foreign military sales. A lot of people just say FMS, and perhaps they've gone rogue. Is that possible?
Yeah, it absolutely is possible. I'm actually uncovering, this will be the first in a series of articles highlighting how the U.S. government is working with countries in the Middle East and North Africa that are, known sponsors of terrorism. And, we'll be going through the series, and we're going to look at look at it, put it out there, let the American people decide if they think this is a good idea or not, to be supplying half the world, if not more, with military equipment that is actually used in wars like Yemen and the United States. We are not physically in Yemen, but our military gear and bombs and munitions absolutely are.
Sort of like copycat of Iran-Contra.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, again, we're gonna be laying out our side of the story here. We're gonna, put it out there for the American people to decide, if this is something that we need to participate in. So this is going to, take weeks to get this story out. We're breaking it on your show today. This is the first time that I'll be really talking about it and talking in more detail about it. So, you've got the exclusive on this, and then we'll be, getting stories out on a weekly basis so we can kind of figure out what's going on, especially with the president trying to do the right thing and kind of getting ourselves out of the Middle East and start focusing on what's going on in this country, in the homeland, and in particular, the southern border.
Well, automatically, Kimberly, you've got the listeners and the viewers saying, how in the, I won't use the word, how is the U.S. government and its defense contractors getting away with this type of program? Mm-hmm.
Well, they're doing it by operating within the law, or unwritten laws, I would almost say, because there is actually federal legislation. There's legislation that's signed into law that if the average American knew the requirements for the United States military or the contractors, defense contractors, to sell weapons overseas, not one of the Middle East countries would qualify. And they made this very specific, very detailed. It's about a 35-page document that highlights and puts out there exactly what countries, allies would like to do with the weapons, how they must follow up. And there has to be, they have end user agreements which have to be monitored every 6 months. And there's no way that an embassy, say, in Iraq is wandering out to the war zone to make sure that weapons that we provided them have not fallen into enemy hands. So, we just kind of have like an arms weapon bazaar going on out there. And by bazaar, I mean, the marketplaces over in the Middle East, and we're talking terrorists of all stripes are getting a hold of these weapons. And that should be concerning to Americans.
Wow. And, we're coming up on that bottom of the hour break, Kimberly, and you talk about these weapons. And when we return, I want to find out what kind of military equipment we're talking about. Is it sharp pencils? No, I don't think so. So anyway, we're going to continue in just a moment. Kimberly Dvorak. CRN cut louder with my guest Kimberly Dvorak, and she is the senior foreign policy advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policy. And as we mentioned, way back when, Congress formally created the Foreign Military Sales Program, FMS, and now it's morphed into something else, Kimberly says, an international arms trafficking business, perhaps. Now, what kind of military equipment are we talking about? Tanks, missiles?
Here, I just want to read some because I want to make sure we get this right. For example, right now, we're just focusing today on UAE and Saudi Arabia. Now, some notes here that these particular weapons are very, it's very troublesome and worrisome that we're allowing to have these two countries in particular have these advanced weapons. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is that UAE has now taken hold of Black Hawk helicopters and F-16 Falcon jets. Now, not only do these F-16 jets, it's the most popular jet around the world. It's what most of the countries use, including the United States. And what we've done, in essence, with UAE is with partnership of Lockheed Martin, and this is kind of going around the back door thing that we've been really worried about lately. The United States is, in essence, partnering with UAE, and with these F-16s, they have a more advanced F-16 technology than the United States. And not only that, but we are actually, Lockheed Martin, with U.S. Executive approval, have actually partnered with UAE. So now they're actually manufacturing these planes in the UAE, who is a leading state sponsor of terrorism, has committed several human rights violations, is a tier 2 watch country around, and this is through the Human Rights Organization, which means they are not allowed to even purchase these weapons, let alone to get this technology. You have to kind of think about when you look at UAE, now they not only, are they buying these planes, now they're producing them, which means that we have to trust that they're not going to share this technology with other countries that, quite possibly really would like to eliminate the United States. So, we're in essence, the United States and Lockheed Martin, and you have to believe that other defense contractors also have similar agreements on different, weapons. Why are we doing this? I mean, why would we give this to the Middle East? So, so this kind of started my curiosity as we, move forward here through the year. And we're, going to be documenting all of this. We're going to, I've already spoken with, various agencies, Department of Defense, State Department, reached out to Lockheed Martin, have not heard back from them yet. But we're looking to, put a spotlight on this. And if this is something that's above board and seems like it's a great idea, then, we're certainly going to give, everyone involved the opportunity to have their voice heard. But when I read it and when a lot of other people read it, we're just like, what? Why would we do something like that?
Yeah, and and you mentioned, their human rights, sponsors of terrorism, and I'll get back to that. But here's another thing, so many people are talking about all the stuff going on, with China stealing our secrets and intellectual property. Mm-hmm. So don't you think that the military might be worried about intellectual property and the consequences?
Well, it seems like the President of the United States is kind of, focused on that topic. And that's why he's, doing all of these trade negotiations with China, because they are, in essence, stealing technology that the United States has researched and developed over decades. And again, I think the concern here is that, the FMS program, which in essence began in the early 1960s, it states that the program could be successful under certain parameters. Well, a lot of these parameters aren't being upheld here, and it looks like they're kind of going around the back door and creating these it's like a public versus private partnership, because actually you having defense agencies and contractors coordinate not just with another foreign company, but they're actually negotiating and working with foreign countries, and these countries are known hotbeds for terrorism, and it's not a secret that a lot of these countries would like to eliminate the United States. What better way to do that than take these weapons?
Well, of course, you mentioned, it happened way back, started in the early 60s, so it's not, something Trump came up with, just in case people are shouting at the radio right now. But you may have touched on this, but how do they get away and around the federal laws?
Well, that's the big question. So I'm working on getting the exact details of that. But in essence, what they've done is they've created a relationship, outside the U.S. government, but with the FMS and the laws that are on the books, they have to be, we're trying to figure out how they're going about, legalizing or retaining the legality of this issue. It looks to me, as well as people that I've talked to, that this is legal, that these companies have indeed, have gone out and talked to, whatever president it may have been, whether it goes back to Bush or whether it's Obama or President Trump, that they are getting some sort of approval from the federal executive side of the coin here on this. So we're looking at it that this is legal, which I think should scare people even more, because if this is legal, then we have some serious soul searching, because I don't know how long it's going to take that the United States is going to see these weapons used against us on our homeland. I mean, one has to question the particular F-16 package that we were talking about, the Desert Falcon. Now, I've reached out and said, with the licensing and intellectual property agreements, do we have to seek approval from UAE to outfit our F-16s? Because we don't have the state-of-the-art technology. We've relegated that and allowed UAE to take that. So I think that when you're looking at this problem, that's a big question. And we haven't got an answer to that, but we will be working on that to get the answer on this, because it's too important. And I think, when you'll see a lot of people, if I may, I know I'm talking a lot here, but you'll look at people in the defense industry and they'll say, you know what, if we're selling these planes and these, THAAD missile systems and Patriot missiles and all of these types of equipment that we're selling, it's going to bring the cost down for America to purchase and buy these and maintain this equipment. I don't think that, Americans feel safer knowing that they're getting a cheaper, missile in this country when, countries of interest in the Middle East and in Africa and Southeast or Northeast Asia, for that matter, actually have access and know how to purchase this. And then on the other hand, you look at this and it's like, okay, now the defense contracting industry now can say, look, we've got to come up with bigger and better technology so we can defeat these people we're looking at on the battlefield today. So that's going to kind of be what they're looking at. And I think both of those arguments are arguably wrong.
Let me ask you this, because I see a couple of words pop up in your report, an end user agreement, okay? And you wonder that, let's say we sell them to those countries, is there a really strong penalty that they can't transfer the weapons we sell to another country?
Yeah, well, this goes back to the 1960s law that was outlined on the provisions on how this whole process would work. And that's a great question, because every 6 months for most of these high-tech weapons, someone from the US government is supposed to go out and verify that whichever country it may be, that they still have the weapon in their possession. and that it has not been modified, which we're seeing a lot of these weapons being modified, which means we sell them. I'll just make it the equivalent to, the bump stocks with the people that were trying to make the, AK-47 like, guns. It's easy to buy a kit and make it something that it wasn't intended for. And there's strong evidence from the UN as well as other investigative bodies that these two countries that we're focusing on, UAE and Saudi Arabia, in fact, are upgrading these types of missiles, which is very concerning. There's been documentation which is very strong from the UN that these weapons, even though there's been a weapons embargo in Libya, that some of these weapons have been photographed on the ground in Libya, and they're providing them to the Middle East. Certain countries are going to have certain alliances within Libya, which is still a chaotic mess since the Obama administration began the war there. Just want to document that. You're seeing them take sides, and they're providing these high-tech, weapons and planes and armored vehicles and such to their side, which may not be in America's best interests. So they're already violating some of the written law that we have. And if they've done it in this particular instance, and if UAE and Saudi Arabia have done this, you better believe that other countries in the Middle East in particular have done the exact same thing. They have violated that law, and they will continue to violate this law. Bringing back to the forefront, is this really something America wants to be a part of? And do we really want to arm the world and be somewhat accountable for what's going on, say, inside Yemen right now?
Now, I don't want to ruin your day, Kimberly, but when you use this word accountable, okay, and a moment ago you mentioned that, well, we have people, that they're in charge of looking over this agreement to make sure that blah, blah, blah. And then I think automatically, who's on the oversight committee now? Let's see, that would be Cortez and two other ladies that just recently got nominated. They're going to be overlooking things. And then you mentioned the United Nations has got, wow, I don't feel too safe right now.
Yeah, well, I think that, the program, like most of these programs, when they came out, they were well-intentioned. They had, it was something to help our allies, and the same holds true that for every, program like this that starts out well and good, they usually don't end well. It's like when somebody knocks at the door, it's like, hello, this is the government. We're here to help. You're like, oh my gosh, what did I do on this one? And this is kind of a cynical way to kind of look at this issue. But again, if there's not a lot of weapons, the way to kind of end all of this is to starve, in essence, the Middle East of these weapons. I mean, if we starve the Middle East of these weapons, then it's going to be a little harder for them to commit the atrocities like what's going on in Yemen. And for all intents and purposes, the United States has been providing the munitions and the equipment to actually fight in Yemen. And UAE is the country taking the lead. It's kind of a proxy with the Saudi Arabians. But I mean, there's man-made, genocide on the horizon here. I mean,
Oh yeah, well, in fact.
Yeah, it's.
You got 2 minutes before the break.
Yeah.
On that subject, what about, does this constitute terrorism?
I mean, it depends on, what terrorism is. I don't think that, U.S. is, committing, terrorist acts. I mean, I know a lot of people would probably argue with that, but I would like to believe that the people who are involved in this, are trying just to make money and not thinking about the consequences. But we have to look at it from the other side. You look at the Middle East and let's look at Yemen. Do you think those people really appreciate what America's role is here? And how long is it going to take for these people to have such hatred for this country that they're able to get into this country and then commit serious terrorist acts against us. And because of that southern border, that's why the southern border is so important for us to have secure, because we do not want to have another huge 9/11 like terrorist attack taking place across the entire country, because these people are able to cross the border, and disguise themselves as refugees from Guatemala. So those are the consequences, and those are the issues that we're going to have to continue to look through, and we're going to be reporting on this, for the next several months, and trying to, kind of put the story out there. Let the American people decide.
And a report she's going to be doing, and will continue. Hiding in plain sight, U.S. foreign military sales, FMS, gone rogue. And I guess, is there an unlikely ally? I guess you'd say, is the U.S. Peace Institute really on the side of the Department of Defense?
Yeah, apparently that's a bit of a new development, to see that the U.S. Institute of Peace is on Department of Defense's side on this. They think that because of the sequestration that took place under the Obama administration, it's hurt our defense capabilities around the world, which is really kind of ironic coming from a peace organization. I'd like to there's one statement that I want to read, and I'm going to actually read it, and it's from the Defense Security Cooperation Agency. Now, this is the organization that kind of buffers between State Department and DoD, and they kind of handle all of these sales. And right now they're looking for a way to streamline the process so we can do even more of these weapons transactions across the globe. So keeping that in mind, I'm just going to read this quote. The policy changes advance U.S. national security and foreign policy because they make FMS more attractive in a very competitive market. And that was stated by the director, Lieutenant General Charles Hooper. He goes on to say the United States not only sells the world's most state-of-the-art defense systems, but we also strengthen our alliances and attract new partners through enduring strategic and defense partnership. And that partnership is with countries in the Middle East that are tier 2 violators, and on every watch list that you can imagine, most of the countries in the Middle East are on. That's their mindset. This is something that just came out. So this is the mindset going into 2019 that this particular agency has in mind. Again, we're going to report on the sales, which countries have purchased them. We're going to follow this, and we're going to hold them accountable by asking the tough questions that nobody wants to talk about. And media is a big part of this. I mean, the media does not want to talk about a lot of these issues because they get advertising dollars from most, if not all, of the defense contractors. So we're going to go out, shed the light on this, let the American people decide in the end if they want to be a partner to countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia, and others in this, new global war on terror that we are a part of.
Boy, and I hope Mueller is listening. I mean, I haven't heard Russia. We're not selling them to Russia yet, sir, okay? We're not playing Russian roulette with them, but we are with all these other countries you mentioned, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
we sell the most. We sell the most weapons of any country in the world by double. So we are the arms dealer.
I'll tell you. Well, let me ask you, Kimberly, can they get this report at ckbreport.com?
They can. This is like I said, you got the exclusive on this one, and the story will be posted tomorrow, and I will be doing, I'll get this out on social media. So if you follow me on social media, I'll make sure that the report, the very first in the series, which I suspect is going to be a very long series, will be out this weekend. We'll make sure that the listeners and viewers here can read a copy and decide for themselves.
All right. Thank you very much. Look forward to the part 2. Kimberly Dvorak, Dvorak. Thank you.
Thank you.